I believe that the fires we're cast upon are the flames we shall become. I believe in a common calling where our temples pray as one. I believe in the word of wonder and a kingdom for the saved.
Larry Pollock here with Helle Trevino. We're joined here by special guest Gina Cavallero. She's an IFBB pro and she's partners with Helle. And Helle, I'll let you explain your program and what you were talking about a second ago.
Hey, what's up, guys? Well, we are the former Team for Pro Coaching, and we have decided to change our name, revamp everything. We started out with 4 coaches, and you know, life takes people in different directions. Now we are 2, so we have a lot on our hands right now, but we are grown for the task. We love coaching, but we need help. We need help with finding a name. So if any of you guys have like the name for our coaching company, then we're going to thank with a gift. So basically, you can choose one of our services, training program, diet, posing session. We will thank with something of value. So that's basically, we are together in the company with no name.
and probably without a number, probably a better idea this time.
Yeah, no numbers in the name. The 4 was for 4 people, so no numbers.
So today we're going to talk about some different divisions. Obviously, all the different divisions in bodybuilding. And originally, when Helle and I started back in the 80s, there was just bodybuilding. There was women's bodybuilding and men's bodybuilding. There was nothing else. And then in 2001, they introduced women's figure as a way for women to compete that didn't want to be as muscular as the open women's bodybuilders, because by that point you had, I believe it was Iris Kyle competing at that time?
Well, when I started in 2003, it was, I believe, Linda's second last year, and it was kind of the Iris rival at that time.
So so about that point, that's when Linda and Iris were, and they were pretty muscular, and some of the women didn't want to be that muscular, so they made the figure division. And then it was it 2000 and I put it in the description, was it the year 2009 when it came out with Bikini?
I think so.
Yeah, anyways, they came out with Bikini a few years later, and that was again for women that wanted to compete, but they didn't want to be as muscular as the women bodybuilders. And figure at that point had gotten pretty muscular as well, so they wanted a downsized division, and that division took off. And then the following year, that was 2009. Yeah, that's right.
There's also the fitness category, which basically the body is like a figure, but they have the routines, very impressive gymnastic routine.
Right, but Bikini was the one that really blew up.
Oh yeah.
And then the following year, they came out with the men's version of women's Bikini, which was men's Physique with the board shorts.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I was walking through the LA Fit Expo, and I looked across the expo hall and I saw on the stage all these guys with board shorts, and I did a double take. I was like, what is this? What is this with the shorts?
Yeah.
Because we never seen that before.
I think we all were, just also because like we've been used to bodybuilding and it was all about symmetry. And like also when men's Physique came out, they didn't have no legs. Today they have legs. They have 0 legs. So it's kind of like, I thought a bit of a joke because it's like, oh, you can train half your body and compete and just skip the legs. Like what is that?
That's
But
exactly
today,
what I thought too. But
yeah,
they want it to be more mainstream so the average Joe could go compete. So that was their idea then. Now we've got to the point where we have 6 women divisions and 5 men's divisions. So we have bikini, we have figure in women, then there's fitness, physique, bodybuilding, and now we've got fit model.
did you say wellness?
Oh, and wellness too, as well. And now we have the fit model.
Mm-hmm.
And now in the men's division, there's 5 divisions. We have there's physique, classic physique, wheelchair, and 212, and then open. And now they're coming out with I guess it's like a men's division of fit model. I forget what they're calling it, but it's going to be like, I don't know what they're going to wear, but whatever.
Right.
some kind of fit body, something or other. And recently, in recent years, the line between physique and bodybuilding has become sort of blurred because
nobody can tell.
The competitors in the physique division are getting more and more muscular and more shredded. And this weekend, there was a lady named Sarah Bradley from the UK that competed and won a show over there. And a lot of people are saying, well, she doesn't look like physique. She looks like a bodybuilder. So I'm going to play a quick clip of her so you can see what we're talking about here. So let me see if I click on this. You can see she's really muscular and shredded. I mean,
like beyond.
I think she's one of the most shredded people I've ever seen.
Yes.
I mean, more shredded than many of the men. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, her glutes and everything are shredded. I mean, down to the bone.
Down to the bone. You don't find like 1 gram of fat on her.
Yeah, we haven't seen that in women's since Michaela.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the striations and the
Super shredded.
Yeah.
It's coming. The thinness of the skin with Sarah was like other level.
Crazy. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely going in a new direction.
you can just see there's another video, like she's just peeled.
She's peeled.
And she's apparently, from what I understand, she's relatively small, like in stature, but she's got an awful lot of muscle on her.
She's got a lot of muscle for her frame, and she's got no weaknesses. To me, that is just bodybuilding. I mean, if you look up the IFBB criteria for physique, it says no deep details or like cross striations. It's crazy to just think back on the days of Dana Little Bailey and Juliet Malkarn. It was totally physiques, but of course everything evolves. I mean, you could also take men's physique and look at how they started, like we talked about, no legs, like really any categories. I mean, men's bodybuilding go back to the days of like Sean Ray and Flex Wheeler, and they were a lot smaller. So I guess it's evolution,
right? But it's not, in Sarah's case, it's not just conditioning that is the defining factor, right? So arguably, women's physique a year or two ago started getting more shredded than female bodybuilders were. We started seeing that consistently in shows. But if we take away the conditioning from Sarah, let's say she wasn't as conditioned, her size, in my opinion, and her structure still says female bodybuilder.
She could have won a women's bodybuilding show, like easy.
I've talked to women's bodybuilders, pros, that are saying this woman's bigger than I am, and I don't even know if maybe I'm in the wrong division.
I know also women's physique that are retiring because they're like, I can just forget about it, So I don't know, like we know everything evolves, and it does, we're seeing bigger and bigger athletes. But I'm also, there's two things to it. It's like women's physique is now basically women's bodybuilding. Like, so what about women's physique? Is that the next figure or what? It's like,
it's a natural organic progression of the sport, right? If you have athletes that are competing across 8, 10 years or longer, they're going to get bigger.
Yeah, and if the judges keep rewarding the most ripped and biggest athlete, then that division is going to disappear, and it's all just going to be women's bodybuilding, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's what they're aiming for, but it's going that direction.
And conceivably, it could be just all women's bodybuilding or all women's physique, whichever one you want to call it, and bring back weight classes.
I think for physique, if they want to keep it smaller, they need to make a height and weight limit. Because, somebody like Sarah.
That was Dave Palumbo suggested a height and weight limit would correct it, but I don't think a height and weight limit is going to get rid of the shredded glutes.
No,
not the shredded.
Someone could be
judging.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that's going to.
Someone could be a certain height and weight, but not weigh a lot because they're just peeled to the bone, like she is, and still make it into the category.
Right.
It's my understanding, she's short, but as ripped. You know how when you're shredded, you don't weigh as much. She has no body fat on her.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to fix it. The question is, at this point, do we really need those two different categories, or should it just be women's bodybuilding?
I think they should. This
basically,
like, remember
the girls that are winning physique, they look like bodybuilders.
Yeah, remember in the old days, both men and women, we had weight categories. We had weight categories.
Right.
There was in the IFBB there was height. There was in the men's at least there was just a.
Well, I'm talking in bodybuilding.
Short and tall. Oh no, there was a weight category. You're right. There was under 200 pounds and over 200 pounds, at least at the Olympia.
Right.
For the men's side, I don't know if did they have weight categories in the women's bodybuilding? I know they did in the amateur, but I'm talking about IFBB.
Maybe like
okay, yeah, and I was talking about NPC.
Right, there's 4 categories for bodybuilding.
Yeah.
4.
No, in the IFBB, I don't think there ever was weight categories.
There was, and for bodybuilding, there was maybe 1 or 2 years where there was.
Well, we had for women's bodybuilding the Miss Olympia lightweight.
Yep.
And the Miss
that was
Olympia.
Early 2000s?
Yeah, that was early 2000s. We actually had a lightweight Miss Olympia at that time.
But it wasn't for long. It might have been 1 or 2.
They might head back there. That was kind of like the Miss Olympia lightweight was, for the shorter athletes who maybe packed a lot of mass, but sometimes it can be tough. Like, if you are a woman, like, and you're like 5 foot and you stand next to somebody who's like, I don't know, 5'8", 5'9", it's like,
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the arguments I've seen that why Sarah should be women's physique was because of her size. She's 5'2", and I think her stage weight was 67 kilos. I was a bodybuilder at 5 foot, and my stage weight, my best weight was 65 kilos. So she already has more size than I do. You know, but we can't use this smaller stature as a reason to stay in a division, because height and weight really is not a defining factor when we're talking about the difference between physique and bodybuilding. I'm looking at structure, looking at density, and looking at overall mass. That to me is what's going to define somebody who fits into the bodybuilding category as opposed to women's physique.
Well, the same can be said in the men's category of the 212. You know, originally they had 212 for the shorter guys to be able to compete, because they thought that the shorter guys couldn't compete against the taller guys and be successful. But then you had Hadi Chupin and Derek Lunsford, both came from the 212 and turned to Mr. Olympia in the open. And Sean Clarita is a 212 Mr. Olympia, and he's winning open pro shows all over the place, beating guys that are, 100 pounds heavier than him and much taller. So is it really necessary at this point to have these different divisions, or should it just be bodybuilding? Because the way it is now, there's very few women competing in bodybuilding as compared to all these other categories. And I think if they combined the women's physique with bodybuilding, there'd just be a bigger class. Sure. And the best one would still win.
Right. Women's bodybuilding, we've been struggling for at least since 2020, it seems, to have decent numbers at shows. In 2020, even though it was COVID year, I mean, I think I did 30-something women in Chicago and 30 in Tampa. We haven't seen those numbers in years. But if the two divisions are consolidated, even women's physique last year started to see a decline, right? Right. So, and even this year, we're seeing decent numbers, but it would make a difference between 12 girls to maybe 20, which I'm sure promoters would prefer, right? Yeah. So, and quite frankly, it makes it easier on the judges because the lines have been so blurred. Yeah. Granted, the judges are the ones that blurred them, but I mean, you take away those two divisions, they look the same anymore, right? You can't. If you take a picture of Sarah or Paula next to your top 5 in women's bodybuilding, I can't find a big difference.
No. And then it's like, those are so crazy ripped. It's like really like, they're more ripped than some of the bodybuilders. Like really like insane conditioning. So yeah. Maybe just
right now in classic bodybuilding in the men's, they're more shredded than the open men's for the most part.
It's crazy. I don't know if
you look at the top classic guys, they're more shredded than the open men's.
I don't know if it's easier to get shredded for.
And now you have.
Well, I mean, I think the more mass you have, the more different.
But if you're forced to make a weight class, if you're forced to make a weight class, then instead of focusing on size, they're focusing on getting as shredded as they can be. So these guys diet down from, 250 to 202 or whatever. They're going to be shredded. Yeah. Where the open bodybuilders are focused on being bigger.
Yeah.
Right. With no cap.
And and then you have all these other divisions. We have, Bikini was once upon a time what this fit model was supposed to be. And now they made fit model because Bikini got bigger. The figure got bigger. How many categories do you really need?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like,
we're
one can wonder, where is it going to end?
Right. And bigger athletes today, we're seeing these, wow, this woman can move up to women's physique easily.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's that natural progression. I mean, I think the only one that probably doesn't fit into that is wellness because, it's so disproportionate.
Yeah.
If you will.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I get why they brought Fit Model out, being the way Bikini has progressed. So there is an entry level. It used to be, I think, in the beginning, Bikini could be something that could be done within a year, right?
Mhm.
You're not going to have any before you step on stage as a bikini
Right.
athlete.
Yeah.
Today, no, you have to train. You have to put in the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess in the same respect, that's what they're doing with the men's division, right? It's about entry level, so people can get in early. We all know it's about money.
I was just about to say that. It's just like, I mean, you could say it's good because they're making the sport accessible to everybody.
Yes.
And there's going to be more people into the sport. I mean, the sport has grown so crazy. I mean, when we started, Larry, I competed in women's bodybuilding because there was nothing else. There was only women's bodybuilding.
Right.
So I didn't have a choice, But the sport was also small, if you only had men's bodybuilding and women's bodybuilding, that's what you had. So that was what there was. So I know there was also really huge men's bodybuilding classes back then where I think it's maybe a little bit more dispersed. But in women's bodybuilding, for sure, if you call everything from bikini and up to women's bodybuilding, if you call it bodybuilding, then this sport has grown like tremendously. And you can say the same really for the men. I mean, how many physique athletes, men physique, aren't there at the shows? So it's just,
it's a huge division.
I mean, if it takes something like 10, 15 years to get to a class, many aren't going to make it. It's just then, life, kids, work. So if you have something that's like relatively easy to obtain, you can get there pretty early. I just had a posing client compete, and he's like 20. He competed in men's physique and classic and did really well. Got like 3 medals or something. You can get there early, and that's money for the promoters, but it's also like expands the sport.
Well, I understand it from a promoter's point of view. Like I promote powerlifting competitions, and there's a weight class, there's drug tested, non-drug tested, there's different age classes. So usually when I have a meet, you'll have 100 plus people, and we give out more gold medals than anything else because it's like almost everybody's competing in their own category. When you take different age, different weight, everybody's in a different weight class with different age and whatever else going on. And so you have all these people, everybody's getting gold medals. It's like almost nobody doesn't get a gold medal because, and for me, it's like, okay, I get it from a business point of view. You want as many people to enter as you can. But I also think like, okay, you got a gold medal because no one else competed in your division because you were the only 69-year-old, woman that weighed 120 pounds competing that day.
Right.
So there's like no competition going on because everybody's in their own category. Right. And then you have people that do crossovers, and that's good that's even better for the promoter because everybody's paying an extra fee to be in a different. People will enter, 5 different divisions in one meet. And I've seen it in bodybuilding too. You'll have people entering physique, classic physique, bodybuilding. They're entering all the different things because they can fit into the height and weight category in one of the divisions. At least this is an NPC. But at some point, like when we go to the shows, they go on and on and on. As it is, sitting through bikini takes forever in a day. And then you're going to have another division, which is figure, which is like a step above bikini, and then you have the wellness, and then you have the physique, and then finally you have the bodybuilders, and now we're gonna have fit model. These things are gonna take all day and all night.
I mean,
to get
talking
through.
about audience perspective, it's so boring. Sit through like 4 bikini classes, different heights, like.
Yeah, and I get it because from the promoter's point of view, he's collecting as many entry fees as they can get, and from the IFBB's point of view, they're getting a payment for a IFBB payment every, your
Yep.
IFBB fee every year from as many people as they can get. So they have more pros, but then the competition gets watered down. So is it really necessary to have so many different categories that are almost very similar to each other?
Yeah, that's true.
I think, like, okay, they came out with Physique originally with the shorts. I know why they did it, because at the time, they thought, guys don't want to train their legs. So we're making this entry level. They don't have to train their legs. But then the physique guys got huge in the upper body. And now you have Classic. But Classic has become the most popular one in men's bodybuilding, even maybe almost more so than the open bodybuilding. So now that you have Classic and they can train their legs, why do you even need Physique? I prefer Classic over Physique anyways. At least they're posing.
Right.
And
But
now
I mean,
you have a height and weight restriction.
Yeah. Men's physique looks nothing like classic body, right? I mean, the big,
Yeah,
big
they are
shoulders,
they
the
are
taper,
very different.
they're
looks.
very different.
But the reason why they're training their legs now, I mean, I've spoken to many guys. I mean, some guys, they're kind of like, they don't really like the board shorts. They think it's a little too beach boy type of thing, and they maybe not have the mass for Classic, but they're like, okay, I might just jump into a men's physique just to kind of try off the stage and, grow into Classic. So it's like, if they don't train their legs, they're never going to have a chance in hell to grow into Classic, like, unless they take 2 years off not training upper body. So I think I think men's physique is still needed.
Yeah, I can see the need
Well, I
for it.
mean, now the men's physique guys are actually training their legs.
Yeah, they do.
What's that?
Yeah, they do
Yeah,
train
they're
their
training
legs.
their legs, and even though they have the shorts on, they're making tighter shorts so they can actually see their legs.
Yes.
So essentially, why not just have Classic? It has a height and weight restriction already, so there's your entry level. And in the women, like, Bikini should just be limited so they don't get too muscular.
Yeah.
And then I don't even know why you need figure, because there should be Bikini and then bodybuilding. I mean, why? I understand the wellness category because it's a completely different look. And I'll tell you, when they first came out with wellness, I'm like, another one? Like, what is this? It just seems silly to me. But then when I actually watched it, it's just, the look is totally different because it's just more emphasis on the lower body and completely different.
If you jump from bikini to bodybuilding, like, just a really big jump. If somebody wants to like progress, I mean, especially with the disappearance of women's physique, I feel like we do need fitness. We do need fitness and figure. They're a bit the same type of body, but it's just like, say you're a bikini and you want to be a bodybuilder. It's almost like, oh my God, like, how many years are you not gonna train? 10, 15 years before you get up there. I do think, I mean, it's it's a lot. Personally, I don't know, really, fit model, is that necessary? I think it's more from a money perspective. Just keep bikini nice. I actually liked the last Miss Olympia bikini who won. She was very small and petite. Like she wasn't like really had too much crazy definition or hardness, or she was like the physique that I feel like the one that won in 25. I just forgot her name, but yeah, yeah. I
So
mean,
but
do you
physique
think
is appearing in
so
my
we're
opinion.
beyond
So
the point of keeping bikini smaller.
I mean, if you have
Right.
bikini, figure fitness, I kind of put them together. And a bodybuilding, you got three. Oh well, wellness, which is a completely different. We got four. I think that's all we need, really.
So you
so?
would
You would
say,
have wellness, bodybuilding, and bikini and
Yeah,
figure.
and yeah, fitness and figure. I think I really love fitness. Like fitness has all the amazing gymnastic routines.
it's kind of
The
its own animal.
Yeah, the body looks like a figure, but I love to watch it because they're really like African pro athletes.
Impressive.
Like
They have the muscle we have, but they.
I think actually
differentiate.
Oksana Grishina was a former gymnast, like on like a pro level. So that's also again something completely different.
Well, here's the thing with fitness. When back in the day we had Oksana Grishina and some of these other fitness pros, the routines were amazing. It was like one of the highlights of the show to watch them
Yeah,
because they were so entertaining.
yeah.
Now you don't have that anymore. There's hardly any women competing in fitness, and the routines are not like that anymore. And actually,
Honest.
the reigning Olympia fitness she just went down to I think she went down to figure
Yeah, she
to
did. She
compete.
went to. Yeah, true. It's just, unfortunately, it's also a category that's disappearing, and I just think like it's so hard, like if you compare figure where you just have four poses and that's it, with fitness where you have the same four poses, and then you got a gymnastic routine that you got to practice all year, and it's not just gymnastics, like just flip flop flips and things you've never even seen in your life before, and it's so impressive, but many of them end up injured. The one that went down to
Missy,
fitness,
Tristan.
yeah, Missy Truscott, she had an injury on stage at the actually and had to pull out.
23, I think. Yeah.
She tore something in her leg,
Yeah.
like really bad, had surgery. So she decided to go to figure, and I'm like, it's a lot less work. I think the money is pretty much the same, and like, why work so hard and risk yourself with injuries? And I think just that's why the sport is kind of it's really getting small. But
Well,
yeah,
the girl that just won the Olympia last year in the fitness, she was a I guess she was a Russian gymnastics person as a pro, and she won the whole thing because the routine was amazing, but she didn't have much of a body as far as like much muscle development at all. So
well,
basically, it was gymnastics
well, they
in a way. Her routine was fabulous, but she wasn't muscular at all. Um, so then that's not really bodybuilding; it's gymnastics.
yeah, I mean, it's still like they still gotta have a good body, but it's like the routine is just judged really high. Otherwise somebody with a shit routine could win just because she got a great body. You gotta have the
Compared
combination.
to the other girls in the division,
Huh?
but compared to the other girls in the division, she had no muscle.
Right.
Compared to the other girls in the division, she had almost no muscle,
Right. I mean, she won her
but she
routine.
still
That's
won because of the routine. So,
right. That's what they judge the highest in that category.
so the question is, you know, does it really serve a purpose at this point? If it had grown and more women wanted to do it and do those routines, but it didn't turn out like that, hardly any women want to do it.
Yeah.
Because of difficulty.
Yeah. I mean,
so then what do you got? 4 competitors?
Huge. And we see basically almost every year.
Yeah.
At the top shows, like girls getting injured and pulling out of the show and stuff.
This requires a whole other skill level, really. I mean, I wouldn't be able to ever do fitness.
Someone said is really impressive to watch. I think we're talking about fitness. Missy is insanely talented. They're talking about Missy Trescott.
Yeah.
But Missy's the one that just went down to figure because she doesn't want to do it anymore.
True.
Right. But yeah. I mean, that was after career-ending.
Yeah, it was a career-ending injury. I think it was. I think it was a smart choice, but it's like I love that category. Most people love it because it's so entertaining. It's just many times it's a highlight of the show. Unfortunately, I wish it could stay. I don't know, like if it's gonna survive.
I don't know. I mean, I think there's less qualifiers for fitness. You know, they're struggling with it just like women's bodybuilding is. I don't know if that was one of the categories that they changed the criteria. Did they bring back points for fitness? Because there was a couple they did, right?
Yeah.
Wheelchair.
Possibly. I think so. I think they might have.
So, you know, we go to these shows and they drag on and on and on and on and on and on and on because there's so many categories.
I think many times they should make 2 days. I always say that. I also feel like it's a different audience. Like those who really love bodybuilding, they want to watch bodybuilding. Like when I go to a show, I'm a bodybuilder by heart. I love bodybuilding. I want to watch all the bodybuilding. I don't want to watch Bikini or Fit Model or even Men's Physique. It's just not, I like the hardcore. So I think it's a different, demographic. So I always say, why don't the promoters do all the bodybuilding categories in one day and then something like Fit Model, Bikini,
twice the cost,
Men's Physique,
that'll never happen.
figure, maybe even like.
I mean, it's going to double their overhead, right? Now they have venue 2 days in a row. They have staffing 2 days in a row. So there's a much bigger price tag.
It's really, I know, but it's also really not friendly for the athletes. I mean, I've had shows where I was competing at fucking 10, 11 o'clock at night.
So unfortunately, what's happening is instead divisions get dropped, right?
Right.
Because the shows are just getting bigger and bigger. So now, okay, well, women's bodybuilding doesn't have a great turnout. We won't have them.
We've seen that trend. I mean, look at the Arnold Classic. How many categories we're not missing? Women's physique weren't there. Women's bodybuilding weren't there.
Figure's gone from Arnold there too, isn't it?
Is figure gone as well?
I think so.
So it's just bikini and wellness. And for the men's, they also didn't have
212.
They didn't have 212. So it's like they just pick the most. I mean, from a promoter standpoint, you just pick the most popular divisions, and you put those in, and then you have
categories. But don't you think if they combined women's physique and women's bodybuilding, then basically the girl in physique would go to bodybuilding? And I think the only reason they don't is because they got this. Some of them got an idea in their head that they're not as big as the women bodybuilders, so they don't think they can do well. I know a woman that was a physique competitor for her whole career, and I told her, why don't you just do bodybuilding, because you look more like a bodybuilder anyways. And she finally did make the switch to bodybuilding this last year, but she was all saying it was, well, I'm not big enough to be in that division, which was not true. That was just her body dysmorphia. She was definitely big enough to be in, and she did women's bodybuilding and did well. So
I've
it was just
how
like
many,
212.
I mean, how many times have we heard that as coaches?
Yeah,
What was
absolutely.
That people want to move up because they're afraid that
They're not big enough. I don't know. It seems like women's bodybuilding somehow has a little bit of a negative connotation too. I mean, I think there was even a situation where you had commented to a women's physique athlete that's large, that looks like women's bodybuilding. You look like women's bodybuilding, and it's taken as an insult. You know, it's not. I mean, if that's coming from a women's bodybuilder saying you look like women's bodybuilding, quite frankly, that's a compliment. You know, you belong in my division. You've got incredible mass.
Then call it women's physique. It don't matter what it's called. Just give it a name and then put it together. It's the same. It's the same to me.
Yeah, I mean, at this point now, the judges are pretty much judging in the exact same way. There's
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
There's no difference. If
it
conditioning
was
used
it
to
was
be
always like that. Women's physique should be soft.
yes, I mean, and if you look at how it started with Dana and Juliana, entirely different than what we're seeing today. I mean, even figure is more conditioned than
Yeah,
what women's physique started.
striated
as,
glutes.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you never saw a striated glute on Juliana Malvarni, and she had a beautiful physique.
Yeah.
To me, that was the epitome of what women's physique was supposed to be.
Me too.
And it's morphed
Yeah.
drastically into bodybuilding. You know, it's just not women's physique.
Too. Yeah. What do you think,
And
Harry?
you're not going to stop the girls from getting bigger and more shredded because, like you said, people keep training and they keep evolving. So they might as well just merge the categories.
Yeah.
And I think at this point, the 212 division in the men's is obsolete because we've already seen that the top 212 guys go on and win in the open.
Yeah.
So
I mean, 212 is struggling too,
there's-
right? Athletes, less shows.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Just put it together.
I mean, some of the 212 guys legitimately can't compete in the open just because they don't have enough muscle, but that's an individual problem.
right.
But you have 212 guys that are short, like again, Derek Lunsford, Hadi Chupin, Sean Clarita, that are winning open shows, even the Olympia.
Open and win any open show. I mean, Keon has one of the most amazing physiques on the planet.
He does.
You know, so
Do you remember when 212 came out, Larry? What year?
The exact year?
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking, like Lee Priest
I remember
was,
the first 212 guy.
he competed in the
Actually,
open,
it was
like,
before it was 212. Wasn't it 201? It was 201 originally.
it was?
Yeah.
No, it was 202.
202,
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 202
Yep.
and they moved it up.
Because the first guy that won the 212, I can't think of his name, a black guy, he used to diet down from 260 pounds to the 202. And he was winning that. And
Right.
I want to say it was, actually, I can look it up real quick. I'll tell you in one second exactly.
I mean, as big as they are, I mean, Derek is also really short, and they've proven they could win in Mr. Olympia. But still, I will say, if we take specifically the bodybuilding category, not other categories, the category where they judge the mass the highest is bodybuilding. So if you have like a short person next to a tall person, and they have like similar mass for their frame, they have the same ribness, like the larger one would likely win because it's just for their frame they can carry so much more mass. So if someone stands next to one who also has the same shape and is maybe like 20, 30, 40 pounds heavier, it's like Goodbye.
I mean, well, that was the reality for me in my career. I mean, I'm a small bodybuilder. Next to you, you outweigh me by 20 kilos. You know, so if I on stage, yes, I'm going to almost always lose to that bigger physique. You know, where somebody like me, my advantage used to be the shredded one, right? Where if I was shredded enough, I might be able to beat the person with more mass. But you know, even at
So
this point,
here you go, right here. The 212 division officially began in 2011, for the IFBB Pro League, made its debut at Mr. Olympia stage in 212. However, division roots actually started a few years earlier, a slightly lighter category. Here's how the transition appeared. In 2008, the 202 division, the IFBB originally introduced non-heavyweight class called the 202 division, capped at 202 pounds, to give shorter, lighter bodybuilders a fighting chance against the mass monsters in the open division. 2011, the bump to 212. After a few years, officials realized many of the elite lighter guys were pushing the absolute limits of the cap, often would try to make weight between 205 and 210. So that's basically where it came from. But again, Sean Clarita weighs like, what does he weigh? Like 170 something?
yeah,
And he's winning open pro shows.
I would also argue for that this show, not to take anything away from Sean, but when he was competing, nobody was in shape. Like
yeah,
Jay-
you had Reagan, Grimes, and
Regan
Regan
Grimes
and
was
Sergio.
there. I mean, in my opinion, if he had been shredded, he would have taken the show. But just they didn't come in shape, and that's when a smaller competitor can really shine. If they have checked all the boxes, they come in shape, everything, then you can say, should someone that maybe outweighs the lighter bodybuilder with 40 pounds, should they win being softer? So it gets to be like a judging decision. Are we going to judge up the mass, or are we going to say, well, he's 40 pounds lighter, he looks smaller, but he's got the shape, he's got the structure, he got the definition he's on? Most judges would probably say, we will reward him for that. It depends on how much the real bigger.
Well,
guy
again,
is.
you right now you have Derek Lunsford as reigning Mr. Olympia, and he's at least 50 pounds lighter than Samson Dowda and Andrew Jack. And
he can hold his
he's
own. I mean, he's packing so much mass, but I would argue any day that if Samson Dowda comes in shredded, that Olympia Samson lost, he did not look good. I would say that is his worst look in a long time. He was small, he was shriveled up, he dieted too hard, he didn't have fullness or even like the real crispy conditioning. He just looked like sucked out, like he dieted too hard.
I'll counter that with, if you look at the Arnold Classic, not this year but the year before, when Derek won it, the package that Derek brought to that Arnold Classic, if he brings that again, no one's beating him.
I say Dowda is winning this year. My money is on Dowda.
I'm saying if Derek comes in that same condition as he did at the Arnold Classic, where he beat Samson Dowda right after the Olympia, no one's beating him, because nobody's going to, neither Samson nor Andrew is going to come in that condition. They're just not, I don't think genetically they can do it, or at least they haven't been able to do it. We've never seen Samson Dowda it really in condition at all. Even when he won the Olympia, he wasn't that sort of conditioned.
right?
But it's also the judging criteria. Like what are they weighing the heaviest on? Is it being conditioned, or is it being 2% off conditioning, but then on the other hand, you have 20 more pounds of mass than the others.
Right.
And now Samson has packed so much mass. The problem for a shorter competitor is like there's a limit to how much mass they can pack on before they start looking blocky. And that's also like the problem of some of the competitors that are short, that they really have to control their gut. Of course the bigger also have, but even the shorter, if you're short and compressed, the wider you look, you just look like a square.
Yes.
You know,
It's hard to maintain.
It's harder to
flow.
maintain those aesthetics lines where you like come in from the lats and the waist and out. It's just a shorter, So if they fill that out too much, in my opinion, I just think they look too blocky. And actually, that's where Derek has gotten a lot of positive feedback. Is like he's keeping his midsection tight and small, and that's why also he's got a good edge because he's got good size. You got to say that, good conditioning, and he keeps his waist small.
At the last Olympia that he competed in, he, in size wise, he appeared to be the biggest, most muscular one on stage as far as size, aside from Nick Walker, who his waist was just too big. But Derek had the size. He didn't have the height, but he stacks up size wise against anybody and keeps a small waist, and that's why he wins. He's managed to do it. I don't even know how he does it, but he does. He still managed to. He is like as big, pound for pound, as those guys with a small waist, and he can bring the crazy conditioning. Well, so that's why he wins.
That's why he's missed the Olympia. I'm just saying it's really hard. You see it with a lot of the shorter competitors that it's hard for them to keep that waist small and tight with that type of mass on the little frame.
Right. But at the same time, it's hard for a taller person to fill out the frame. Right. So each has its difficulties.
Yeah,
but sure. At the end of the day, we're judging who's the best overall.
Everybody's got challenges, but my argument was like, if you have a taller athlete that filled out their frame, then it's like if they have the symmetry, they have the conditioning, and they filled out their frame, they're gonna win over a shorter.
Yeah.
Look, if Samson Dowda came in Ronnie Coleman conditioning,
forget it.
Hands down, he's lights out the winner.
Yep.
But we've never seen that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think you'll ever see it because for whatever reason, he just can't seem to get in that kind of condition. And when he tried last year, he just got small.
With different athletes, it's some maybe it is genetics, maybe it's mental. Some athletes never get there, right? They bring a great package, but they can't quite get that shredded look. And it seems that the ones that can't, you never see it.
Sometimes it's also like you just haven't maybe nailed it 100%. Like you may come close. I mean, you're like super shredded by nature, Larry, but I'm sure you also had like shows you like I should have been fuller, or I should have done this or that. And it's also a learning curve. I mean, I know still Samson has been in the game for a long time, but fuck, I know with myself how many times I fucked up, even though.
Look, I have a guy that I
fucked up things.
I have a guy that just won. He just won the light heavyweight in the Cal last 2 weeks ago on the weekend, and I've been training him for 2 years. And the guy is 5'6", and he has 21-inch real arms. I mean, real with striations and the whole thing. And everything else is pretty well developed. But the guy has struggled to get in condition. We did a 20-week prep, And this is after he trained all year long, and all year I didn't let him get heavy. And then we did a 20-week prep, and I want to say the last 10 weeks was almost zero carbs.
Wow.
And then we got to, I knew he could win the light heavyweight, and I knew he would have problems in the heavyweight. So I had to get him down to light heavyweight. The day before the show, he weighed 208. The morning of the show, he was 205. We had him go, he went to do morning cardio. This is the morning of the show, and the weight didn't move. So we went to a sauna at 24-hour fitness. After that, we went to weigh-ins. He weighed 199.5. The cap is 198. So he still had to lose another pound and a quarter.
Whoa.
So we went back to 24-hour fitness, back into the sauna.
Oh.
And he came and went back to the weigh-in. They gave us 3 more hours, and he weighed 196.7. But
Wow.
it was a struggle for him to get there. And he was conditioned enough that he won his class. He still wasn't like shredded.
Right.
But it took all of that for him to get conditioned.
He was dry.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he was dry, but it was a struggle for him, and mentally it was really tough for him to do that. Like he struggled through that prep. He almost quit like several times. Like on 2 weeks out, he told me, I have a family event. I can't do anything this weekend. 2 weeks out from the show, he's saying he's not going to train legs because he has a family event. He was ready to throw in the towel already.
Right.
So it was like I almost had to force him through the whole thing. But it worked. It paid off. But he just genetically, if he didn't bodybuild, he'd be a big fat guy.
Right.
The guy just does not lose. He holds on to every single ounce of everything. And, through all of that, he didn't lose any muscle. With no carbs, all the water depletion, he lost no muscle at all.
Yeah. Well, people have different body types and different genetics for everything. Like some have really crazy genetics for getting ripped, like you, Larry. Like you don't have to really do anything. What? You diet 6 weeks and you're in shape,
Well,
like that.
Okay.
Everything.
That it was, I always was pretty lean, but when I did the USA's when I was 18 and I won that show, I ate fish, red snapper, lettuce, and distilled water for like 8 weeks.
Wow.
And I was doing cardio and I was training every day for 8 weeks. And I literally starved myself for that one. And I got shredded. So I think just over time, after competing so many years, your body just gets used to being at a lower body fat. You change your set point. But it wasn't always that easy. I mean, I struggled in that prep. And I didn't struggle mentally. Like I mentally could handle it. I'm saying just like I remember at the very end of that prep, I was walking into World Gym and I hit my head on one of the bars hanging from the lat pull down.
Right.
And Joe Gold said to me, "Are you all right, kid?" And I just looked and went, I just shrugged. I didn't have the energy to talk. I just shrugged and I'm like, yeah. And I just kept going. But then after years and years of competing and being lean, my body just got used to being lean. Like I can prep for 2 weeks because my body just got there. But that's over so many years of just doing it. Um, what I don't know if Samson and now Andrew Jack is getting into better shape. His shape is, I mean, conditioning is much better than it was in the past. So he's finally getting to that point.
He just bring up his legs more.
Yeah.
But he's also pretty tall.
But back to what we're saying, it's whoever overall has the best package, which means combination of size, symmetry, structure, conditioning, all of it. You got to have it all. And it's proven with Hadi Chupin and Derek Lunsford that they can beat the taller guys that outweigh them by 50 pounds. They've been doing it.
Yeah.
So is there really a need for the 212?
I mean, I would say Sean would have a hard time.
I know a guy that competes in 212 just because
you just fell out for a second.
I don't know if it was me or you, but you just timed out for us.
Yeah, here too.
Oh, maybe it's my computer.
You said you knew a guy that
Someone
competed in
says
212.
Samson doesn't even seem fat. He just holds so much water, then tried to push conditioning when he was already lean and just got small. I don't know. You know, I think there's a little bit more than just water going on there. But anyways, some people just, genetically it's harder for them to get lean.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't be a reason for them to win.
It can also be skin thickness. Thin skin thickness can really play a role as well in like how crisp you can get.
Right.
And black athletes in general.
So in all these divisions, I just don't think the height at this point in the open divisions in bodybuilding and in women's bodybuilding, I don't think the height matters so much.
Right.
Because you've got shorter competitors beating taller competitors.
Right. I mean, it seems like having 212 and keeping it just makes it more accessible, more fair for the shorter guy, right? I mean, maybe but Derek and Hadi are the exception. So Keon could move up, in my opinion, as well to the open and do well, but maybe 90% of the guys in 212 couldn't, right? I mean, I don't think Derek and Hadi are the norm in 212.
They're definitely not the norm. They are alien.
Remember back in the day when we didn't have any, there was no 212. You had Sean Ray, Lee Priest. They were killing it in the open. They were shorter guys,
right? But
they were beaten.
Yeah. The size was less. I mean,
What was that?
The size was less also back then. I mean, Sean Ray, what was he, 190? Like, it's just the considerably less size, like we talked about earlier, how bodybuilding has it.
But Sean Ray almost beat Dorian Yates twice, and Dorian outweighed him probably by 80 pounds.
He must have been off.
But he said almost. Yeah. But he didn't.
Well, a lot of people think Sean Ray should have beat Dorian in those two shows because Dorian was off. He was competing that one year with a torn tricep, another year a torn bicep, and his waist was starting to get bigger. And Sean was nails. So there's a couple years that Sean arguably should have beat Dorian. And so should some other people.
if there was a 212 and he would be in it, he would have won it.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I'm saying Sean was top 5 in the Mr. Olympia for 10 years straight and
Yeah.
took second twice. So
Of
and he's
course
5'6". He's 5'6".
Yeah. No, for sure you can compete in the open. I mean, don't you also have the choice? Like you can, I mean, I don't know if you can compete in both at the same event.
No, you can't compete. They won't let him compete in both, but they can choose one or the other.
I mean,
Right.
show to show you can. You can do T12 this week and open next week, but you can't do it at the same show.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, like they wouldn't let Sean Clarita do 212 Olympia and open in the same competition for whatever reason. They said no.
Right.
Yeah, somebody just mentioned Franco Colombo. There's another guy. He was a Mr. Olympia. He was short.
I mean, but again, take these shorter guys from 20, 30 years ago and put them up against the open guys today. They're not winning. I mean, we're talking like considerable difference in mass.
Mm.
But 20 years ago, yes, they could.
I think if you took a Sean Ray or a Lee Priest and you put them on an open stage today, they'd probably still place pretty high.
I mean, in fact, there will be bodybuilders. We can both compare women's physique to women's bodybuilding, 212 to men's bodybuilding. There will be athletes in both categories, if we say 212 and women's physique, that could also compete in open and even successfully and even maybe win it. But there's also like a lot of the athletes this just maybe doesn't have that 1%, you know? Like I would still argue that in bodybuilding, mass is much more important than any other categories. It's just judged, it's valued higher. That's why you said Sean Ray should have won over Dorian Yates because he was softer, Dorian, but still he won because he won on the mass. It wasn't the conditioning that was the most important thing. So those 212s that do well in the open, that is those that really, they're that 1% that just, they have it, right? Like Derek has it. I think if you look at 212, like, look apart from those few, like.
I mean, look at Flex Lewis, possibly the best.
Well, let's look at the shows that we just had. You had New York Pro, where Tonio Burton just beat Mike Crizzo at New York Pro, and then Crizzo beat him at Pittsburgh, and then Tonio just won the Legions and beat a lot of guys that were bigger than him.
But you gotta have shape. Crizzo doesn't have a shape. Like he's very impressive, especially whenever I go on his page, like in the gym. I think he's the most impressive. Like really, like you look at him in these gym shots, and you're like, why is this guy not Mr. Olympia? And then you see him on a stage, and you see why. He just does not have the structure. His waist is too wide. His obliques are huge. He just doesn't really have that flow. And that's how Tonio. I mean, Tonio is perfect, you know, like
amazing.
He just more size and like who knows where he could go.
But again, there's an example of a shorter guy that's beating all these bigger guys.
And they are there.
You know, he's probably top 6 in the Olympia this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So at this point, I don't know if it's. I get what you're saying that, you know, not everybody can compete successfully go from 212 to open and be successful, but that can be said of anybody, even the open bodybuilders that are heavier. They can't always win in open bodybuilding because they're missing, you know, whatever that they're missing. They're not conditioned enough. They're not. The structure's not good. Whatever the situation might be.
Yeah.
So you're going to have. Look, some people, no matter what they do, they're never going to be successful as a pro bodybuilder because either genetically they don't have it, mentally they don't have it, or a combination of all of it. They just don't have it. But that's the judges can only judge what's in front of them, who's up there, and so at this point, I don't really see a need for 212, and I think that the physique and the bodybuilding should just merge into one category.
Something you just said, Larry, something that I hear constantly is, well, the judges got to judge what's up in front of them that day. But regardless of what's in front of them that day, they still have the option of saying, yes, you were the best athlete on stage, but you don't fit the criteria for the division. That doesn't happen. They just go, oh, well, he or she was the best one that day. She wins. But arguably, you could say that Sarah could have been told, second place, amazing physique, amazing conditioning, but you need to go into women's bodybuilding.
True.
Right? I mean, so it comes down to the judges having to say,
should you win a category you actually don't fit in just because
you're the best?
I mean, you could say, yeah, women's physique, the best is not necessarily a bodybuilding look, right?
Right.
Because if you look in the criteria, they're not supposed to have really deep cuts and cross-striations, which is now.
But I mean,
that are
stopped years ago. I mean, Sarah Villegas is probably one of the most conditioned physique athletes we've seen, and she's won the Olympia how many times?
But I think she looks physique. She doesn't have
that physique.
That to me with Sarah is like she has this like thick, dense muscle, and that always categorized or described a woman's bodybuilder. We can say men's bodybuilding for that sake. It's just the bodybuilders have that thick, dense muscle that's just trained over time and time, whereas physique was like always this like they had totally looked like the bodybuilding shape, but they had a slighter stature, just the muscle were not as thick and dense, you know. And that's like Sarah Villegas. It's just not thick and dense.
That physique would never work in bodybuilding.
No, that physique.
Natalia Coelho potentially could maybe get there, but again, I think she has a classic physique.
She has a more like a classic, like a physique look. Yeah, so for sure.
That's the difference. There's a difference in the look.
Also, women's physique always had like not much pecs and small arms. Like if you look at Sarah, what was her name? Sarah Bradley, that just won the Optimum Classic. Huge guns, like huge arms, huge back, huge delts, like it's insane, thick, you know.
And kudos,
that
put in the work.
That shouldn't have won. That look shouldn't have won if it should fit into the physique criteria. Like, right, like you said, could have marked her down and put her in second and say, hey, you're actually in the wrong category. Like, because if you get that look to win, what's going to happen? Everybody's going to look at the physique. Oh, damn, I got to be that big. I got to be that ripped. And it keeps going.
I understand what you're saying, but think of the average person watching it. And you have Sarah, who's shredded and muscular all over, getting beaten by whoever that's much softer and much smaller.
But that's the category. That's the criteria.
I know what you're saying. That's the category, but it's hard to judge that because how do you decide, you know, what's too much?
The audience is gonna boo the judges away for sure because there's someone.
Right, so this is an extreme. Stick Nick Walker in classic. He's got the most size. He comes in the most condition. Is he gonna win a classic show? No. So again, I think it really just comes down to the judges.
No, I definitely think there should be different categories, but physique and bodybuilding has become almost the same thing.
Yes.
It's becoming almost the same. So is it really necessary to have both classes?
Probably
or just have one?
I think they should just put it together.
I mean, it would have to take like a hard correction. Like the judges would have to say, okay, we're gonna get physique reined back into what it was intended to be. You know, and all the judges gotta uphold the same criteria. And
You know, they've done that at times in the past, and they'll implement like some policy, and it'll last for a minute,
exactly.
and then
Right.
people go back to judging what they see in front of them.
You know, to make an example, do you remember, like, this is like some years back, maybe like, is it 10 years or more? They implemented a 20% rule that everybody had to downsize of the women's bodybuilders. 20%. And there was actually some of the athletes that followed it. And then, you know, you show up at a show, and who won?
The
The
one
biggest,
that
the biggest and most ripped, the one that didn't downsize 20% won. And then again, what is 20%?
right.
So like out of, if you weigh like what, say 75 kilos, and you got to take
15 kilos
15
off.
kilos off, so you're like 60 kilos, like 60, okay, yeah, 60 kilos. I'm like confused with pounds and kilos. No, that's a
Yeah,
lot better.
again, like this
Yeah.
guy commenting, he just said, you have a criteria, but then somebody else is more muscular and better conditioned, then the criteria goes out the window
Yep.
It does.
because the judges are just looking at what's in front of them again.
That's the one consistent thing is that if somebody is the best on stage, biggest, most conditioned, well, criteria don't matter. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's the best.
I will say, if we compare 212 and men's bodybuilding, I would say they both have a bodybuilding look. Like, they're dense, they have all the bodybuilding criteria. It's just a height difference, but it's like it's the same look. Whereas women's physique and women's bodybuilding, that was not supposed to be the same look. The women's physique were not supposed to be dense like the bodybuilders, like we talked about Sarah Villegas. She's not dense. She's got all the shapes, but that thick muscle that bodybuilders have,
She does.
that wasn't supposed to be physique. So now you have dense in women's physique, a lot of muscle, a lot of shreds, and the same in women's bodybuilding. So that's why I'm like, I mean, we might as well just.
I mean, I don't know the drawback, really. Is there a drawback to combining them? I mean, women's bodybuilding is struggling. We saw less shows this year. They're seeing less girls per show. I mean,
Look, Jake Woods is all about women's bodybuilding, and he gets way more money for the women's bodybuilding. So
not anymore.
for the physique competitors, if they're forced to compete in bodybuilding, I know some of them will be not happy because they don't think they can compete against the bigger girls. But for the most part, they're going to make more money. There'll be more shows to compete in if they combine the categories.
Yeah.
Certain people are going to, the certain people are not going to be able to make it because they just don't have what it takes to be a top physique or bodybuilder. But
I mean, it was the same what we talked about 212. Some people are not going to make it to the open because they just don't have that size of what it takes. So it's like,
It's just the
Look,
challenge.
I have a friend of mine, and you know who I'm talking about because he was on a podcast with us a couple weeks ago.
yeah.
And he competes in 212, and he just did his open. And he's in a weird situation because his height is like too tall for a 212. And he weighs in competition about 220. So he's too small for the open for his height. But that's just a problem that he has. Like he doesn't fit in either category.
He's in between, so
he's in between. So he has no choice but to go open and get bigger because that's his only chance of winning, because he's never going to win in the 212 because he's too tall for and to make the weight, he has to get down to 212, and then he just looks smaller next to the 212 guys.
Yeah, that's just if you're tall, you have no chance.
Look, when I started competing, I had a coach named Mike Sable. When I was a teenager, I won my first teenage show at 16. And he always told me it's better to be a big light heavyweight than a small heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
And he sunk that into my head. So for years and years and years, I would diet down from 230 pounds to 198 to make the light heavyweight. And I was just, my frame was too big. So by the time I got down to 198, I looked stringy. And finally, I competed one year. I over dieted down to 198. I looked stringy. Then I went to nationals 3 months later. I was about 212 or 215, something like that. I looked better. And finally, the last show of the year, I came in at 225 in condition. And that was my best look. I should have been 225 the whole time because I had to be 225 pounds to fill out my frame.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just never meant to be a light heavyweight. My frame was just too big.
Yeah.
So you know, that's up to the individual bodybuilder that's got to fill out their frame or whatever it is. But if your frame's too big to be a 212, then you got to go to the open and you're going to have to gain muscle. And if you can't do it, you won't win.
I wish more would look at where would they would fit well. Like I feel like at least I've had a lot of athletes that were kind of like, oh, I want to do this category, or I want to do this category because they like it. But I'm kind of like, oh, you know, you don't really fit in that category. Like,
But
I mean, you
the
have
thing
your,
is, I mean, you
your
have that
height
choice,
and
right?
structure.
So as hard as the sport is, you want to do the category you like and you want to do.
Oh, look who we have on. We have on the
it-
chat. Natalia is on the chat.
Oh, hey, Natalia. We love you too. We've been friends for a super long time, me and Natalia. Even like
I'd be curious to hear what her feeling is about this, considering she's the current Physique Olympia champion.
Yeah, for sure. If you're on, Natalia, we would love to hear your input.
Yes.
But it's like, yeah, I'm sure you also like looking at what's happening lately. I'll say like, especially Paula Ranta and Sarah Bradley just has been the most insane physique to me lately, just in terms of everything, the size, the shredness, like thin skin, like out of this world, like more shredded than really many female bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Impressive. I'll say impressive. I'm just
Now let me ask you a question. Natalia comes in as conditioned as anybody, and she has a crazy V shape, almost probably more than anybody, because she's got that tiny little waist, and then the wide shoulders and everything. I think I've seen her at times more muscular than she is now. I don't know if that was intentionally or not, as far as like conditioning wise. But how do you think Natalia would fare against what's her name? The current reigning Miss Olympia open bodybuilder.
Andrea Shaw.
Yes.
Well, Andrea, she's a really big girl. Natalia, she looks physique to me.
Physique.
Like she's physique all day, like that type of shapes. Yeah, she looks big because she's got such a small waist and she got so crazy shapes. So the crazy shape you have, the bigger you look. We see it with many also, I'll say, males, especially like some of the black males that really like come in with that waist like a 12-year-old boy. And Natalia is that type. Like she's an ectomorph with crazy shape. So her waist is like this, her lats, her shoulders out, pow! Her lats out here, comes in here, and her legs goes out like this. is like so cartoonish, and it's like many people can get big. I just say people or athletes. It doesn't matter if it's women or men. You can have genetics for getting big, but you may not have the shape. You know, you can have square sized legs. You cannot like you some legs some athletes have huge legs, but they're not. You don't see the
You don't
sweep.
have
Like
sweep.
Talia sweep. They're like even from the back they look like a balloon. You know, like her lats look like a balloon. Everything is balloonish.
Muscle bellies are crazy.
So again, how do you think she would fare in open bodybuilding?
No, but she's not big enough. Like she's actually, if you meet her in real life, she's a small girl.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, I know.
she,
I know her. I've met her a million times.
her shapes
Yeah, her
are
shape
what
is physique.
make her so crazy to look at, and that's physique to me. You know that you just have that shape. You don't necessarily have that huge dense muscle like a female bodybuilder, but you have that like crazy shape. The shape of the body.
Again, it's you know, Andrea is classic bodybuilder, density, mass, right? I mean, look at Ashley, second in the world, right? She's 5 foot. She's my height, but with amazing mass, right?
Yeah.
She outweighs me by
They are so big.
10
I mean,
kilos.
if you
Yeah.
take the top 5 at the Olympia right now in women's
They're
bodybuilding,
huge.
they're huge. Like Natalia absolutely does not fit that category. It's just she's just got that. Like someone on a thread here says the shape gives the illusion, and it's just she has so much shape, it just gives the illusion of more. You know, it,
You know, Phil Heath beat Big Ramy, and
something like that, right? I mean, it's just
I mean, Phil Heath beat Big Ramy every time they competed, and Ramy outweighed him by 50 pounds.
yeah. But Phil Heath was a big dude with a lot of density. You know, it's not
I know,
like
but I'm just saying he still beat him, and Ramy was way bigger than him, way bigger, but he still beat him because he had better conditioning, better structure, better everything.
yeah.
Better aesthetics.
I mean, it's the full package, right? And it's like what is the full package? You know, it's really a lot of things. It's shape, it's symmetry. How does the physique flow? How are the muscle insertions? If you have too high lats, you're never gonna grow a pair of lower lats because the insertion is just
It's not there.
their muscle is not there. You know, there are so many things. Like people want to say simplified conditioning, size, yeah, shape, right?
I think if you put
That's
Natalia in an open category, she'd probably beat a lot of those girls that are bigger than her just because because of her crazy shape and proportions, she looks much bigger than she is.
Well, you could say like a Flex Wheeler. You know, like in my opinion, should have he won the Mr. Olympia? Hell yeah! Like I was a huge fan of him, and I just thought that he was the most crazy shaped athlete that time to look at. You know, this I love this like round and round and round. You know, small waist. It looks crazy good, and most people will agree. Like that's why classic emerged because it's just blocky is not that pretty. It just isn't. Like it's like I see it either you're a very fan of like the mass monsters and don't matter if it's blocky, it's a lot of muscle and they feel like it kind of like weighs up for that. And then there's those that are really fan of like more like the aesthetic era, classic, small waist, still muscle. But it's like there's always gonna be some people that like one thing or the other. And I think also like in the judging, I mean, really, is it that objective? You can go to one show and there's one set of judges and you get judged that way, and then you go to another show and you get judged that way.
Let's see.
Like,
Natalia just made a comment.
huh?
She said, Natalia just made a comment. Absolutely, I'm way smaller than Dre, love her physique, but I'm definitely 1/3 of her size, which proves that women's physique and women's bodybuilding are two separate divisions. Some girls are mixing up the criteria.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about. It's like if the direction is going towards Sarah Bradley and Paula Ranta, it's also like we saw this girl Scooby Doo, Meg,
yeah,
Scooby Doo. What was
Scooby
it? 200 Scooby Health. Sorry. Was it 236 pounds
I think so.
in the off season? And she was not fat. She was in a good shape. Uh, the fuck in physique, you know. I mean, she is tall, but still, like this size is just in physique is just going, you know, it's really increasing, and then that's when the discussion is like, are they just gonna let it go that way? If they're gonna let it go that way, okay, then everything's just put in bodybuilding. But if they wanna keep the division like Natalia says, some girls are mixing up the criteria, or some, you could say, some judges are mixing up the criteria because they're letting bodybuilders win physique shows.
I mean, because really, I mean, if you look at Natalia, if you blend physique and bodybuilding, Natalia is the best in the world in physique. With every reason she should be.
Mm-hmm.
You put her up against Andrea, she's not winning it because she is physique. So there is a definitive difference between the two. The problem is that the difference is being blurred by the judges. The judges have got to say, this is the criteria, this is what we're going to keep physique looking like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so until that happens, I mean, there's just going to be this horrible blurring of lines between the two divisions. And realistically, there is a difference. You look at Natalia, you look at Andrea, these are two different types of physiques.
I mean, Natalia just wrote, I'm 140-ish on stage, and I know Andrea is around 180. So we got a 40 pounds difference there.
Is Andrea's a bit taller than her, I think, as well, though.
I think she's
Probably 2 inches taller.
I think she's 5'5".
5'5", 5. And I'm guessing Natalia is probably about 5'4".
Yeah. Maybe she can answer. How tall are you?
So,
You know, I every time I see Andrea at the after party, she's in those heels. So maybe she looks taller than she is. I don't know.
she's what? About the same height as
But I've stood right next to her, and she
5'5".
seems.
you.
You think she's only 5'5"?
Yeah, I'm like 5'5", 5'5" and a half. Sometimes I say 5'5", and sometimes I say 5'5" and a half.
You guys are about the same height, yeah.
I think so.
I think so too.
Maybe it's just the way she looks, but when I've stood next to Andrea, she looks taller. But again, she's always in heels at the after party, so
Right.
I'm sure that makes everybody.
She might be 5'6", but she's not taller than that. But
okay, sure. So Natalia's 5'3", and Andrea, she said she's 5'4", 5'5".
I think she's
so
5'5".
I guess there are.
I read that, but also
so there's
feel like we're the same.
Yeah, a couple inches different in height. So there.
Yeah.
So there you have the distinction right there in between the two categories. So then what do you do with a person like this Sarah that just won?
I mean, I read Tyler Mannion, he said something after Paula Ranta won a show, who's the other really big shredded physique athlete, where he said she won because there was nobody better at that show. Like he said, come Olympia, she's not going to win because she doesn't fit the criteria
New York
anymore.
and Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh. So New York, Pittsburgh.
So I
But
just think
that's
it's
a cop-out,
strange.
right?
I just think it's strange. She says, "Well, at the Olympia, she's not going to do that well because she's actually too big." But
So
then
then
she
she shouldn't
wins
have
to.
done that
She
well.
shouldn't have won two qualifiers.
Exactly. Then she shouldn't have won. Again,
Right.
that's where the judges have got to say, yes, you were the best one on stage. I'm sorry, you're getting second because you don't fit the criteria.
And I'm also like, I think they should recommend athletes also and say, hey, you know, if you want to stay in this category, we want to see you downsize to what you used to be or what you were before. Or they can say, you know, we think it's time you move up in women's bodybuilding or men's bodybuilding or
And I
whatever.
think that's the problem. That just doesn't happen.
Right.
I mean, I know of other female bodybuilders that were told, you need to move up in physique. Why aren't these girls being told that?
Mm.
Instead, they're winning
So-
shows. Yeah, amazing physiques and the best one on stage, but they don't.
So considering that Natalia's 140 on stage and Andrea's 180 on stage, do you think that a height and weight restriction like they have in classic physique would work for the
Yes.
women's physique?
Yes.
Yes.
If they want to preserve women's physique, they absolutely need to do a
agree.
height.
Yep.
Absolutely. Like it works for classic already. Like it would work for women's physique too. Like I see also women's physique like sort of like a classic, you know, like a body like women's bodybuilding classic. Right?
Right.
It's go back in the day and I feel like that was some physiques we maybe saw in like
Do you have any idea what Sarah Bradley weighs?
67 kilos was her stage weight.
what's that in pounds?
It's about 150.
On stage?
Yes,
And how tall is she?
5'2".
5'2". 5'2" and 150 pounds.
I mean, but take into consideration, so Natalia just said she's 5'3" and she was
140-ish.
40, 43, 40 on stage. That's almost my stage. And she has 3 inches on me.
Right.
Difference, I'm a bodybuilder. I have thickness, density, and mass.
Yeah.
So,
It's the look. It's not always necessarily the weight. It's the look.
it's the look.
Like,
It's the look. Because you could be short and very thick and not fit in physique because you are thick, not just because you're short. So, you know, that's where
someone who is thick and say like has a wide waist would like maybe do a little bit better in bodybuilding, but not in physique at all.
No.
The same
So-
class. You gotta have
So
that.
if there was a height and weight restriction in women's physique, do you think Sarah Bradley would not have meet the criteria for the height and weight restriction?
No.
So then she'd be forced to go to women's bodybuilding.
I mean, she's 1 inch shorter than Natalia, and she got 10 pounds on her. So she should not have been able to make the criteria for that.
So then maybe that's the solution. It's just to have a height and weight restriction.
I mean, honestly, I would love to keep the women's physique because I think they are really different. Like sort of like I said before, like a classic and a bodybuilding, right? Like, wouldn't it also be sad if classic disappeared and just went into bodybuilding? Like, I like there is some diversity, but they're gonna have to do something.
Well, classic and open bodybuilding, there's definitely a huge distinction there. And I think definitely that should be separate because their criteria is very, very different as far as the way they look, the size of them, and everything.
Exactly, and the same like physique and women's bodybuilding were always very different on the look, like the whole density and waist and everything. Like, I mean, they also do vacuums in women's physique. You know, it's like it's supposed to be a women's classic, so put
Right.
weight and height, like please, and preserve the category. It's like It's just the way it's going. If they let it slide and just say, okay, they can get as big as they want, okay, then
So the
it's fine.
consensus is keep the division at the way it is and have a height and weight restriction.
Right. Natalia says, Sandy told me multiple times that they don't want women's physique to be as dry as shredded, but the girls keep coming this way, so judges have to pick someone, I guess. It's like,
I know, but again, if the judges held the line and they don't win because they come too shredded,
True.
guess what? Next show,
if
Come in
you're
top
too
tier.
big and too shredded and you lose because of that, and you're told like, yeah, you're never gonna win this category if you show up like that. Go
And
to
you
women's or correct the look, then it will not happen. Like everybody looks at the winner. Like right now, Sarah Bradley won. Like every physique athlete. Like I have a client that I actually have two clients that went to their coach and said, well, I don't know if I can really hold myself up, like if I can compete, and this is too much size. I don't have this much size, and we're like frustrated that, where am I going to compete then?
Look, Natalia just said she's been penalized many times for being too shredded when I was in figure. That's why I moved up to women's physique.
Right.
right? And we're just not
Yeah.
seeing that happen with the judging anymore.
No, they're
Across
not.
all divisions, really. I mean,
They're not penalizing, not like fitting the criteria. Like you want to hold a criteria, you gotta penalize something. You can't just pick the biggest shredded
the
athlete
best
every
one.
time.
I mean, everybody would like to see the best one on stage win that day, but if you don't fit the criteria, sorry.
I mean, then I should compete in physique.
Exactly.
I mean, it's hard as when you're judging a contest, though. When you look at somebody and they're more conditioned and more muscular, even there's criteria difference.
But then men's bodybuilders could compete.
For example, the show that Sarah just won, the girl that was second to her,
Susan Brown.
she wasn't nearly as impressive. She wasn't nearly as conditioned or as muscular, and they were both about the same height and size-wise. I think they probably were about the same size as far as just like weight, but Sarah was like way denser and more shredded and more round.
Well, it's always like, honestly, isn't bodybuilding one of the most impressive categories? I mean, if you say impressive, like especially from a bodybuilder's viewpoint, as we all are, shredded, big, huge, hard, dense, veins all over. We're like, yeah, it's like, yeah, a bikini athlete is not impressive. Like, I don't want to watch it. Like, I don't have anything against it, but it's not my thing, like figure, it's not really impressive. Physique and bodybuilding, we're getting there. I like men's bodybuilding. I like classic. And then again, men's physique, yeah, like it's not.
We know that sound.
So it's just we like that crazy, it's like you don't like to drive the Volkswagen, you like the drag racing, right? It's just more impressive. So yeah, I mean, I like Sarah Bradley's physique better than Graham's, just because she's fucking impressive. But that doesn't mean that she fits the category, like it's just some categories are just smaller. Like they need to hold. It's about holding the lines. They hold bikini. Don't let it slide into being figure. Don't let figure slide into being physique. Don't let bodybuilding slide into yeah.
I mean, and the shame of it all, really, is there's divisions you can grow into. They don't have to. I mean, there's places for them to go. So why keep somebody who's obviously no longer fitting the criteria, has outgrown it? Why keep them in the same way and blurring lines for the criteria? Because every girl athlete that wins a show, that's the new bar. And that's the problem. That's why we keep seeing more shred and more size in women's physique. Because they keep raising the bar.
Yeah.
So the bar needs to be
Well,
dropped back.
Natalia just asked the question. In our opinion, what would you like to see in women's physique versus women's bodybuilding?
Exactly what the guy underneath I can't see the whole name, L something. El Vato Fishing. There you go.
Mhm.
Says I think the distinction between women's physique and women's bodybuilding needs to be a physique with separation, shape, and flow, while bodybuilding should be harder and bigger. Again, I'm seeing it as classic. You have a women's physique that's a classic bodybuilding. Classic, not as dense, not as super shredded and hard with that hardness. I thought also the physiques like in the 90s, like Linda Murray wasn't like super shredded.
No.
She was just separated,
Right.
you know, very separated, nice small waist. She would probably have fit in physique today.
Yeah.
Man.
And Iris moved the needle on conditioning.
Yeah.
And size.
Yeah. So I'm also like women's bodybuilding is the bigger, hotter, and denser. Where women's physique less hard, less conditioning, still conditioned, but you don't need to have like straighted glutes. You can count every single
Well,
striation.
didn't they tell Sarah Viegas 2 or 3 years ago when she lost the other time that she was too shredded, come in softer?
Yeah, and I also
And then
talked.
she lost the year she came in softer. Right?
Exactly. I talked to her backstage, and she was like, last year they told me to come in softer, and she did, and she lost.
In my
And that's
opinion,
fucked up.
Natalia should beat Sarah every year, in my opinion.
I mean, I'm
But-
also a Sarah fan, or like
Natalia
a
fan.
Natalia fan. Sorry,
But again, they seem to try to correct that one time. Oh, you're too shredded for physique. Okay, that happened at the Olympia, but yet at qualifiers,
and that's also that
Right?
just should not happen. You say, come in softer, and then you lose.
and
Like really, that's really not fair. Then you didn't follow any criteria.
And you know what? We are at heart bodybuilders, and we want to see shredded mass because that's our thing. So if we're on a judging panel and someone's softer, even though they might have told us the criteria is XYZ, if someone's softer and smaller, it's like hard to wrap your head around that person winning unless they have like crazy shape like Natalia does. By the way, Natalia, thank you so much for that.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. We are big fans. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
But
I
but
understand
really,
what you're saying, Larry. But
if you look at most of the judges, I mean, we like size and conditioning and everything, and how even if they said to me, okay, the criteria is, we want it softer and smaller, but then you look on stage and you see the person that's more conditioned and more muscular, it's kind of hard to judge that.
Agreed. Okay, it's not an easy job.
but it's also again,
but you do
is
it once.
it's like, what if you put a men's open bodybuilder into classic?
It's obvious because it's
Right.
so drastically different,
It's like,
right? But really, yes, it is harder from a judge's perspective to not award the best look on stage.
but maybe
but-
the best look isn't the
But they only
most
got to do
shredded.
that one time. Because
Yeah.
really, if an athlete who is the best one on stage that day gets told, I'm sorry, you are the best, but you don't fit the criteria, they're not going to have to be told that again, because guaranteed I'm going to the next freaking division because I don't want to lose.
Yeah. But I also want to challenge, what is the best? What is the best? If you really say, is the best the hottest, most shredded, most muscular athlete?
For bodybuilding, yes.
That's the best for bodybuilding. What is the best for physique? can you still say it's the most shredded, the hardest, and the biggest? No, it's a different criteria. Where it's like, yeah, it's not that somebody says it's not that difficult. You know, you fit the criteria, whether it's classic or physique,
it's not that difficult when we're sitting here talking about it, analyzing it. But when you're a judge sitting on a judging panel and you have looking at what's in front of you, it's the decision might not be as easy for a lot of the judges.
Then what's the then we can talk about every category. Then when is a figure? When does figure have too much and she's physique? You know,
Well,
I mean, the lines can be blurred.
Let's talk about one thing about the judges. Sure, on like the Olympia stage, you have like top pro level judges, but in a lot of these competitions, you know, the judges are not, for the most part, former pro bodybuilders that competed in these divisions. They're whoever they can get to do it.
Right.
You know, because it's a thankless job that doesn't pay hardly any money. So it's like, who can you get that's willing to volunteer their whole weekend to go to a show and do all this stuff? And I know this because one of my training clients, she was a IFBB and NPC judge for like decades. And she would go to all these competitions and she basically got paid, you know, a little bit of travel expense and a little tiny bit of money for being there. But she did it just because it was like a passion thing. But very few pro bodybuilders are willing to do that thing. So the judges are whoever they can get that, you know, to do it. So in other words, they're not, you don't always have the best people qualified for judging. And I'm not talking about Olympia or the Arnold. I'm talking about, you know, a regular show. You're going to have a bunch of people up there that, yeah, you can tell them the criteria is this, but they're not necessarily going to understand it fully or follow it fully. So again, they're going to go to what their eyes they think is most impressive.
Yeah, I can get that. I mean, it is often more impressive. You see like crazy glute striations, you see like feathering quads. I mean, you see like sheer density throughout the back. You're like, wow, you know?
I don't know. I in 2020, I remember it was COVID year, I actually inquired with some judges about how can I become a judge. And I was shocked when I was told that there was like no manual, no class, no course where they teach judges what to judge. I was like, well, how do you know as a potential judge what everybody else wants and looks for? Right? I'm like, where does the uniformity come across the judging? That's why there isn't any. I'm like, at least write a book.
So it's just kind of like,
there should be training for judges. You should have to complete a course.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how can you get standardized across an industry that spans the globe if you're not saying this is what we want all of you to judge?
I actually also went into like, they call it like judge training in Denmark, but there wasn't really any training.
You basically sit at the
it's
table,
basically like
you
if
judge.
someone,
Yes.
If you test judge, it's called test judging. So it's basically like if you have, say, you've been in the sport for a long time, you've like, you have years, right?
Yep.
And you should have the knowledge. You just test judge, and you have to score it with something like you have to have at least 70%
consistent
correct.
with the other judges, yes.
Consistent with other judges, yeah. So same thing. You sit a judge, test judge. It doesn't, of course. What is it called? Like in the competition, your score doesn't count. But still, same thing. The highest and the lower score gets thrown away, and they look at the middle. And if you're consistent with at least 70% of the other judges, then if you score within the 70% 3 times in a row, you're a judge.
Yes.
That's it.
And that's why it didn't happen in 2020 because of COVID. couldn't have extra people at the tables. They were, dealing with COVID and limitations. So I just didn't pursue it after that. But I still was just shocked. I'm like, I can't take a class. You're not going to teach me, right? There's no book, right? I mean, I think there's probably a better way to create consistency.
And it's also like this, we often say that bodybuilding is subjective, right? Because it's like, people are different. Sometimes I call it like, it's like a beauty pageant just with muscle, because I feel like it's sort of like the flavor of the day, like you can go, like we talked about earlier, you can go to one show and there's one set of judges and you get third, and you go to the next show and you compete against the same people and they more or less look the same, and just another judge will pick you as the winner. And it's like, some judges tastes just towards redness, right, and some judges size taste them. Or like, we already know certain judges. It's like, oh, if you get that one, it's good to be shredded. If you get that one, it's good to be huge. Right. With a little softer. I think it's
hard. I mean, it's the human element of it does mean that there's a
subjective. So given the reality that we can't necessarily rely on the judges to judge according to the criteria, because they just don't half the time. They judge on whatever it is they like. Maybe a height and weight restriction would solve that issue.
Yes.
I think it would be a really good idea.
At least minimize it. I mean, there would be controls that aren't subjective and human.
Like classic. I mean, I compare women's physique to classic. It's a classic.
And would you say in all the other women's divisions, should there also be like height and weight restrictions for whatever the criteria is?
I don't think bodybuilding, like, just
open's open.
Open is open, No,
I'm not talking about open, but like
bikini,
figure, bikini.
Figure, yes, because I think we're seeing the same thing in figure. Is the athletes are getting bigger and bigger, and there's certainly some that you could say, hey, you should be doing physique. So, if there's a cap, once you hit it, that's it. I mean, bikini, I think there's a big enough difference between it and figure that it doesn't need that. But
I think also bikini, they don't. I mean, they are getting on Olympia level. They're getting really strong, but I mean, not straight and glute, but still crazy hand glute tie-ins and stuff. But I think with bikini, some athletes look better with a little bit more fat on them than others, whereas all the rest of the categories is like, it's about having as little fat almost as possible. At least how it is now. Like, figure is crazy shredded. I've heard literally like judges tell their athletes, do not flex your glutes, do not flex your quads, just to not look overly shredded. So yeah, let's get some caps.
What's that?
Let's get some weight caps, weight and height. I think is a good idea.
I think so too.
Figure and physique.
Yep.
So it seems like the weight cap, the height and weight cap restrictions are what's going to be needed to make this thing, the judging criteria stick.
Need to be fair, and it's like I think it's a shame if like the categories are disappearing. Like, I love all the categories. It's like, it's different looks, and I think it should be there because it creates diversity over the line. Yeah. Also, like, how long people have been training, and it's like bodybuilding. Yeah, we love bodybuilding. It's the most extreme, but it's also really, in terms of like time and commitment and all that, it is the most extreme. For somebody like, maybe like, if you look at the women's side, somebody who has like 2-3 kids, it's easier to do like a bikini show. I'm not saying they're not training hard. I'm just saying extreme looks requires
extreme behavior.
Yeah. So I think they should all stay. Like really.
I think they should stay too, and I think the weight caps, height, weight, can help right the ship. You know, right now it's taking on water, and nobody's bailing. we need to bail out the
and also
the
I think
divisions.
you can progress really easy. Like I don't know if we really need this fit model. I think it's more like over in the modeling industry. But I think if you start like say you are like 19-year-old and you want to compete, you dabble a little since you were like 17 and you start in bikini, it's like that girl might be a potential bodybuilder one day, you know. She got started early with competing. She didn't have like when I started training already a little bit in high school when I was 15. I got really serious when I was 17 and I competed when I was 22. I trained 5 years really seriously to enter the lowest like national level.
Right, but I mean, you could also say that even if you wanted to do bikini, you wouldn't have done well in it any more than I would have.
Yeah.
We don't have the structure for it.
I'm
We are
not
thick women.
I'm not a
You know,
small.
we're not a small woman.
I
so-
have those Viking bones.
So even if you wanted to do bikini, you wouldn't have done well in it, right?
No, I would not.
I mean, we can
I just
peel like
I'm
40
big,
kilos off
I'm
you
big
and see.
boned. I'm big boned.
So you notice that it took us 2 hours of discussion to arrive at the decision that we did because it wasn't the same in the beginning.
No, because in the beginning, our starting point was if physique is how it is now, like if we have Sarah Bradley's and Paula Rantas winning, then do we need physique? Like,
Right.
it's
Again, but
it's the
it
same.
took us quite a bit of discussion to come to the conclusion that a height and weight restriction is
Would be
what's
the-
needed.
Yeah. I
Even
mean,
us that have been in this forever and a day, it still took us quite a while to reach this conclusion with the help of Natalia input in this as well. So, and I can guarantee you, I've listened to other people discuss this and they've not gone over it the way we have today. And I
Right.
guarantee you that the judges are probably not having the discussion as in depth because they just probably aren't. Well, obviously they aren't because otherwise they would have arrived with this already. So maybe if any of the IFBB or NPC happens to listen to this all the way through, maybe they'll take our advice and implement a height and weight restriction into the category, and that'll hopefully solve the issue of like the people being too big or too shredded in the different category.
Right.
Well, it can certainly solve the too big. It's not going to solve the too shredded.
Right.
That still is going to lay in the judge's lap.
Yeah. What do you say about the integrity of?
Well, I mean, when we started, it was, can we blend these two? Yes, if you don't want to maintain the integrity of the divisions, because that's what's happening right now. It's not being maintained, right? It's blurred, horribly blurred. You implement weight caps and height, right? Now you can start respecting the criteria of the division. Now you maintain the integrity. But as long as there's no way to do that, the blurring is going to continue because, again, the judges are judging what's on stage and they're saying this is the best one. You know, we judge what's in front of us. But put the height and weight cap on, now that one is now not on that stage. So now it's just on them to not mess up the conditioning criteria.
So I
Yep.
think that's the solution right there.
Yeah.
You know, at least the judges will be forced to have to deal with what's in front of them, which is not going to be somebody who is way bigger and more shredded than the next person. They'll be on a more even playing field.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's the judging is never going to be perfect because, again, there's all kinds of things going on in the judging, you know, but between the judges not being trained properly, them not knowing how to judge properly, and then we also know that, you know, a lot of stuff goes on behind the scenes that, you know, judges pick who they like or who they know or whatever the situation may be. We all know that happens.
Sure. They're human. I mean, there's no definitive, you know, finish line to cross or
not like
best time to beat.
Whoever gets in goal the fastest, the quickest.
Exactly. So there's always going to be the element of the human element that is going to skew things, right? You know, so.
What I will say is this, though, they need to have clear criteria at the top level of the sport, like at the Olympia level. Because I don't like, for myself, when I was competing in the 90s, I was very frustrated with the judging in the NPC was very different than the judging for Mr. Olympia. Like in Mr. Olympia, Dorian won because he was the biggest, most shredded guy up there. And then in the NPC, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
You could be the biggest, most shredded guy up there, but you know, they judge based on whatever else criteria that they thought, you know, they liked or didn't.
That
So,
should definitely.
as someone coming up, you're like, well, if Dorian's Mr. Olympia, then that's what I got to shoot to look like. But then you get judged in the NPC and it would be totally different. And so it has to start from the top where they pick a criteria and you at least know what it is. And in some way it should be consistent all the way through.
For sure.
Should be, yes.
And I know the criteria changes and stuff, but basically, you know, we train for years and years and years to get to a certain look. It's not like something you can change, you know, during like a contest prep.
Right. Or one season, possibly.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
we should been like
what's
around
that?
the 2 hour.
Yeah, we're at the 2 hour mark. I think
We're at 2 hours, Larry. Wrap it up. Great show. Helle should be the fitness business name. Good luck. So we just want to mention quickly again that we're looking for a business name for our coaching business. If you have the name, DM us on Instagram. If your name gets picked, we're going to give you a present, whatever you like. Could be posing sessions, training plan, diet plan, something like that. We'll figure out what fits your needs. But give us the name because we have been discussing how long now?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Over 2 weeks, I think.
Over 2 weeks. Using ChatGPT, messaging each other like what the fucking name should be. And we can't figure it out. We want something that fits like, we do bodybuilding, or we do all categories prep, and then we also do lifestyle. So we are struggling with finding something that's
encompasses everything.
And also we prep men as well. It's not just women we prep everybody. So it's like, how can you find a name for everybody? You know, like we think like something like the name before was Team for Pro Coaching. If it has something with pro in it, I think lifestylers get kind of turned away and think, oh, it's too professional. You know what I mean? So
maybe it's Encompass Coaching.
Encompass?
Everything.
It encompasses everything. It's corny, I think.
This is the problem.
Helle's Instagram is in the description, so you guys can reach out to her with your suggestions. And like they said, they're going to give out a prize, some kind of training or posing, whatever. Whoever comes up with the best name. And with that, Don't forget to like, subscribe if you like the content. Don't forget to put any questions you have in the comments and make suggestions of what you'd like to see in future shows. And I think that should do it. That's a wrap. I think
That's that.
Thank you so much for having me.
I think we beat this horse to death today.
Yeah, I think so too. But it was great seeing Natalia on here.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and I think we got a lot. It was a lot of discussion, but we got a lot accomplished.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Thank you so much, Larry. I'll see you next time. And yeah, please, guys, give us some suggestions about what to talk about.
Yeah. All right.
And that's a wrap.
Bye.
I believe that the fires were cast.